Well, good morning, everybody. I think we're ready to start. So maybe just to start, let's just kind of come back into ourselves just for a moment, just to settle. And then I'll talk a little bit about the schedule for today, for the next 3 hours that we have together. Okay, so just again, just kind of coming back into your posture. Maybe taking a few longer, slower exhalations. And again, just kind of sensing into the room. So just really getting a sense of where our body is located in the room. So maybe where the light is coming in from, maybe the ceiling and the walls. Maybe that sense of resting your body into the space. Maybe turning around. And then when you're ready, when the time is right for you, just allowing your eyes to close. And just finding out when that time is for you. And when you do close your eyes, just really kind of sensing in to that kind of what we call the inner space. And as we close our eyes, we tend to connect more, maybe more deeply, more naturally with how it is to really kind of inhabit our own, that sort of mind, body, heart combination. I'm just really sensing what it's like just to be in your own skin in this moment. And as best doing this really without any judgment. So this is how we're being in this unique moment. You know, we may be feeling very sparky, alive. We may be feeling a little heavier, duller. It doesn't matter. But what does matter a great deal is however we are, to just really kind of turning towards it, acknowledging it. So letting go of any resistance to how it is to be present now. And just knowing whatever is here is, this is what it is, part of the human condition. This is what it is to be human. The various tones, textures of the human experience. One thing we can be sure of is that will change. Our heart mind is continually shifting, changing. Whatever's here, just bringing a kind of friendly, kind, compassionate gaze to whatever we're experiencing. this sense of really befriending ourselves in this moment. And as we're doing that, also acknowledging the effort and the time we've taken out of our normal, maybe busy life, to just give ourselves this time to connect maybe with what's alive, maybe what's important for us, this ability to cultivate a more conscious and tender relationship to ourselves. And just remembering the words of the Buddha, that no matter where we go to in this world, no matter where we travel to, we will never find anybody more worthy of our love and compassion than ourselves. We will never find anybody more worthy of our love and compassion than ourselves. This is a very profound invitation, and perhaps also for many of us a challenging one. And then maybe we just spend a few minutes for you to maybe drop in very gently, very easefully and effortlessly. It's really, what is it that drew me to take this time out today, maybe to do the self-compassion course, just in a way to rekindle, just getting that sense of what's orientating you, and that's different for all of us. To really want to spend this time actually exploring our inner experience and cultivating that art of compassion. So what's our intention? And try not to force any words. For some of us, it might be a felt sense. For some, it might be a yearning to connect more deeply to ourselves, to bring more compassion to our world, which is badly in need of it. Maybe to find more creative ways to respond to some challenge we're meeting in our life. Maybe to quell the inner critic. There can be many reasons. So seeing if you can just drop that into your own heart very gently, and in a way trusting your own heart to let you know, maybe in its own time, what really matters to our heart. And then when we're ready, if we want to, just bringing our hands to our hearts in that gesture of kind of compassionate embrace. And just sensing into that connection with our own body, with our own heart. And then in a moment, I'm going to sound the bell. So just staying open to the sound. Thank you for that. So just to say that I think today is a really important part of the course. And in a way, what we're going to be doing a lot of different meditations today. And I'm sure for all of you, you found while it's easy to kind of turn up on Tuesday mornings, it's not always easy to cultivate the habit of a regular practice of taking this time out of the busyness of our lives. And in a way, it's a very important component of the self-compassion or of any meditative tradition, because in a way, what we're doing when we practice meditation of any sort is that we're familiarizing our heart and our mind with qualities and a kind of sense of what's possible internally. So, and that there's a very profound relationship between the way we meet ourselves and discover what's inside, and perhaps, you know, bring these practices in, which are often quite complex. But what they do is they kind of act as a mirror, you know, for us to begin to explore and to investigate our lives. And that can be really helpful, because our life, we've been trained. I know if I look at my life, everything I do, probably most of the moods that I have, my ways of responding, they have been cultivated, depending on different causes and conditions, my family causes and conditions, my education, my society. And there's an awful lot coming at us. And very often we don't really have the time to begin to really ask, does this fit for me? We can often feel at odds with our lives in ways, that while we go along with it, it doesn't kind of resonate deeply. It doesn't really connect with what's really meaningful for ourselves. And I think that to really fashion what's important for us, I think it takes a lot. I don't know what you felt there, but when we ask sometimes, what do I really want? What's my purpose? What's meaningful for me? We often don't know. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think the closer we get to ourselves through such practices, the more we kind of see more deeply into our own heart and mind. Because at the end of the day, we can have all the teachers in the world, all the influences in the world, but actually we're alone, and how we relate to that aloneness, that's going to determine how we experience our lives, So this tendency to turn inwards and to discover, like, well, who am I beneath this busyness? It can be a very fruitful inquiry. And often when we practice meditation, what we discovered is the fluidity of this heart and mind. We sense very profoundly, very deeply how we're in a constant shift and change and flux. And I think in that, what's behind that is this quality of spaciousness. This fluidity is only possible because there is an internal space that allows for things to come in, to arise, and to pass away. And I think very often when we are not vitally connected to this, we feel like our life is more like a boulder. Our thoughts, our perceptions, our feelings, they have this very strong sense of concreteness. And our sense of self can become very rigid. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. This is me, which can really, these patterns and habit energies of our mind become the lens. And often these lenses can be more rigid than they need to be. We need habits. We need patterns in our lives, all of that, but we need to hold them with a sense of spaciousness, a sense of fluidity, a sense of, that we can actually create the space to examine them. And I think that's really what meditation, what mindfulness, and particularly what compassion gives us. So this is why, in a way, I'm kind of giving a pep talk, but in a way, this is why we practice what we're doing today. We've had the theory for the last 6 weeks. We've explored different aspects of ourselves. But today we're just going to come back and just really, how have these landed? How have these landed with us? And to really, when we practice meditation, and we inevitably, we'll meet, like I was meditating this morning, and I meet challenging things in myself all the time. And that's not the difficulty, that's normal, but how I relate to it. So this is why the compassion, we're cultivating the compassion so that we can allow the circularity of our own psyche, which is what meditation will do. And then we bring these practices very deliberately to bear on the experiences and the conditioning of our past, much of which is not our fault. We've taken it on. but which is our responsibility to find ways of creatively engaging with them, so we can, if that's what we want, to free up, to loosen up our lives a little bit. So one of the things that really facilitates this inquiry into ourselves is silence. So we're going to conduct the day in silence. I mean, if that's possible for you, if you have people in the house that, you know, are going to want your attention, then of course that's all very, you know, that's just how life is. But if you can, to give yourself for the next 3 hours just this opportunity to silence, actually what it does is that it actually brings us in a little bit more, you know, a little bit more maybe perhaps intense in a way, or it sort of turns the gaze inwards. There's a lovely, very short poem by a woman called Barbara Hurd, and she says of silence that silence arrests flight, so that in its refuge the need to flee the chaos of noise diminishes. We let the world creep closer. We drop to our knees, as if to let the heart, like a small animal, get its legs on the ground. So as silence arrests flight, so that in its refuge the need to flee the chaos of noise diminishes. We let the world creep closer. We drop to our knees, as if to let the heart, like a small animal, get its legs, get its feet on the ground. So this is important, and I think it's very important that this idea of letting the world come closer will depend on our ability to have our feet on the ground. So the first practice we're going to do today is the body scan. We're going to do a compassionate body scan. And you know, I don't probably at this point maybe need to tell you the critically important nature of the body in the practice of meditation. You know, the body holds so much. It holds our life, it holds our memory, it holds our tensions. And it's really important for us to begin to be with the body in a very visceral, alive way, so we can really connect up with them and hold the images, the memories, that sense of the body. Okay, so that's just, we'll start that in a moment. So just to say that we finish at 1 o'clock, and we will have a break sometime in the morning. Will depend on how the meditations pan out. But the break we'll use as a kind of meditation. So we'll have a cup of tea, but we'll drink it mindfully, or we might have a snack or whatever. So seeing if we can just use this few hours as a way of making life our practice. You know, so there's nothing outside of the meditative gaze. When we say meditative, this capacity to bring our full presence to whatever it is we do. I'd encourage you, if you can, if it's not too challenging, to maybe let our phones go for a few hours, if we can not check in with our phones or things like that. If that's too difficult, then, you know, do it with kindness. So in a way, we're just asking of ourselves to give to ourselves our full attention. So are there any questions before we start? Because we'll be, from now, we'll probably go into silence until we break up during the day. There's one in the chat. Let's see what that is. Morning. This is being recorded. I don't know. We can do, yeah. I mean, they're mostly all the practices we've done already, except the body scan will be slightly different. But I think, Teen, if we can record them, we will, and we can.
I'm recording everything, so yeah, they're already. Yeah.
Okay. 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 So for this first practice, you can do it lying down. You can do it sitting up. The important thing is to do it in a way that is most comfortable for you. If there's a danger that you're going to fall asleep, then just, if you need to sleep, then sleep. But if you don't want to sleep, and if your tendency when you're horizontal is to sleep, then just be aware of that. The important thing is just to make yourself really comfortable. I'll give you a moment for that. Okay, so just finding that comfortable space for yourself. And then when you've found your comfortable posture, and if your eyes are closed, that's fine. If you want to, it's probably best to close your eyes if you can, but if you don't want to, that's up to you. And just really kind of just letting the gaze just turn inwards. And if you want to, bringing your hands to your heart. Again, this is just a reminder, an important reminder that in a way we're not doing this body scan so we can just merely observe our body, but we're doing it so we can bring a kindness to it, a kind of tenderness. We're turning towards our body as we would turn towards somebody we really cared about, somebody we really loved, in tenderness. So you can either keep your hands at your heart or let them rest wherever they find a natural place to rest, on your belly or by the sides of your body, wherever, making sure that you're warm enough as you engage in this practice. And then letting the breath just breathe very naturally. If you want to, you can put a little more emphasis on the exhalation. So maybe just taking a few long, slow exhalations and letting the inhalation then just come in very naturally. No need to make any effort with the inhalation. And as you breathe out, just really sensing that quality of release, that sense of letting go. And as the breath naturally comes in, just sensing that nourishment of the breath, how the breath oxygenates the body, how it brings life into our body in a very real way. And maybe just appreciating this capacity we have to really breathe normally. This is a gift, especially during this time, that we have a breath that breathes in without any restrictions or if for any reason the movement of the breath isn't comfortable for you, then maybe just staying with, with your hands on your belly or just that gentle movement, the way the breath impacts your body. So as we're lying here now, just getting a sense then of the whole body, just being present to itself. And we're going to start this body scan. We're going to start in the mouth. So just sensing into your mouth, maybe a recognition of all of the capacities we have to taste the different flavors with our tongue. Letting the tongue rest in your mouth. And sensing into the warmth of your tongue and palate and the insides of your cheeks. And sensing your teeth. And then noticing your lips and softening, really softening the lips. And if you want, you can have a kind of half smile on the inside of the lips. We now know that this is one of the ways that we can soothe our nervous system. This is a smile not covering anything. This is a smile of opening. Not a cover up, but an open up to what's here. So sensing into the lips. And maybe noticing if there's a gap between them or if the lips are touching one another. And just noticing if you are using the half smile, just sensing into how that is. And then gently moving out to the cheeks. So just sensing the cheeks and the cheekbones, and maybe even sensing the air against our skin. This protective layer around our body. Maybe up to our cheekbones. And then down to that area between the upper lip and the nostrils, that area where the breath first touches the body. And then the breath brushing against the insides of the nostrils. And maybe sensing into that very gentle sound of the breath at the back of the nostrils, kind of like the sea. The sound of life flowing through our body. And then gently moving up to the eyes, the two eyes resting, softening, almost as if you were kind of smiling into your eyes. these sort of precious organs that make a world visible to us, colors and shapes. Just sensing into your eyes and sensing into the space between your eyes. Space between the eyebrows, kind of softening. And up to our forehead. And again, if there's any unnecessary holding here, seeing if you can soften into the forehead. And then very gently into the two hemispheres of our brain. And just for a moment, giving the brain a breather. This organ of ours that tends to work really hard to try to keep us safe, strategizing, conceptualizing. Just seeing if you can just really breathe into these two hemispheres, soothing the brain, softening any tension. And then moving round to the back of the head, and if you're lying down, maybe sensing that contact point. And then right down to the base of the cranium. This is often an area that we now know carries a lot of tension. So again, when we meet tension, we're not trying to do anything with it except just to really soften into it. So we meet whatever is there with a kind of gentle, soft energy. So, and from there, just moving up to the two ears, and these ears that allow us to hear. To hear sounds. To hear music. Maybe just bringing a little appreciation to the reality that our ears can still hear. And then from the ears, moving down to the jaw region. And again, sensing in here, just noticing if there's any tension in the jaw. And if there is, sometimes it can help to just let there be a little gap between your upper and lower teeth. Takes any pressure off the jaw. And again, if there's any tension, just really welcoming it and acknowledging it and maybe softening around it. So we're not creating any battles in our body. We're just meeting whatever it is with kindness, gentleness, with softness. And then gently down into the neck region. And again, just noticing this quite important region that holds up our head, takes the weight of the head. And again, bringing any space that you need to into this area. There's already a lot of space here, so sensing into the space, and if there's any tension, noticing the tension residing also in the space. And then from the neck, just moving down to the shoulders. Again, the shoulders are often areas that we kind of brace against the world. Just see if we can just let the shoulders rest into the floor, or maybe drop it a millimeter or two, just letting go of any unnecessary holding in the shoulders. Often it feels like the shoulders carry the weight of the world. Again, just softening here. And as we're doing this, it's very natural, maybe inevitable, that our attention will move around, we'll get curious, we'll think about other things. Maybe we'll get a little fidgety. All of that is fine. And just be gentle with that and make space for that. That's what's here too. So if your body feels a little agitated or bored, just acknowledge that. Let that be part of the space. And then very gently moving over to the left shoulder blade. And again, just noticing any tension, any tightness here. And again, softening into it. Just being aware that the body holds a lot of memories and that often contracts. So we're softening into whatever we meet. And that softening and warmth will often tend to, over time, it sort of melts the holding. So over to the left shoulder, and then gently meandering down the upper left arm. Just sensing into that. This arm, that upper arm, elbow and lower arm. That makes so much maneuverability in the world possible. The whole left arm now just at rest. Just really sensing how it is to live in a body that is alive. And then gently moving into your left hand. And again, noticing how it's positioned, bringing that quality of a curious engagement. This is the hand at ease. Is there a kind of open quality? Is it in contact with the right hand? Just noticing the knuckles and joints and fingers and nails, the heat, the coolness, the aliveness of your hand. And then very gently moving over to your right hand. And again, sensing into that. Maybe the thumb and the index, middle, ring, and little finger. Bringing a quality of warmth and curiosity to your right hand. Maybe even noticing up until now what your hands have been able to do for you this morning. How it very creatively manipulates the world for our ease. Just bringing a little appreciation to our hands. And then very gently moving up the right lower arm, up to the elbow. And from the elbow to the upper arm. And then from the upper arm over to the right shoulder. So again, just tuning into the shoulder and notice if there is any softening needed here. And then from the shoulders, just sensing into the back of the rib cage. And just kind of noticing as you breathe in, just how the body tends to accommodate, how the rib cage accommodates the lungs by opening and expanding to create space for the lungs to take in air. Sensing that space in our body. Actually, our body is more space than anything else. And then gently moving around to the sides of our rib cage, and maybe just again tuning. Can you notice any movement here? At the sides of the rib cage, beneath the arms. This quality of curiosity, this quality of gentle investigation. The body and breath are in this constant, harmonious dance, creating space, expanding, releasing. And then gently over to the front of the rib cage. So again, just noticing the movement at the front of the rib cage. And maybe just sensing how the rib cage is housing our heart and our lungs, organs that are working day and night to sustain our life. This capacity for these organs to operate outside of our awareness, the intention of keeping us alive. Maybe just getting a sense of this whole respiratory system, from the nostrils down to the lungs, pushing of the diaphragm, so that the belly inflates a little bit. So just noticing that gentle movement of your belly, this kind of central point. Almost like the seat of life, the navel, the belly. And then gently round to the back of the body, that area, the back of the rib cage. Maybe sensing the spine, this column that holds up our torso. So this body that is so close to us, that we are so much a part of, and yet very often out of our awareness. So just really just tuning in to really move close into this body that is sustaining our life, grounding us. So the spine down to the hip and pelvic region. Again, just sensing into this area, kind of like the cradle of our body. Maybe sensing the space that's here. This hip and pelvic region that makes so much flexibility possible. And then gently into, maybe into our left thigh. And then just sensing the volume of the thigh from the inside to the back, to the outside edge, to the top. Right into the left knee, the kneecap and joint. Again, another part of the body that makes mobility easy and fluid. And then from the knee down to the shin bone and calf muscles and into the ankles and into the foot. And just sensing the world of sensation here. And then gently moving over to your right foot. And can you sense it? The toes and the ball of the foot, the arch and the heel of your right foot. And up to your ankles, inner and outer. And from the ankles to the lower part of the leg, the right leg. And up to the knee. The kneecap and joint. And just noticing where your attention is. Has your mind and your heart wandered off? And if it is, just very gently notice if it would like to come back, or if it wants to stay consciously with the thoughts, then let it. It's making a choice in your own time. And when you're ready, just dropping into the instructions. Maybe to come into the right thigh, sensing into it. How do you know you have a thigh? How do you know you have a right thigh? How do you sense it? It's really bringing that quality of awareness to this kind of elusive sense of body we have, embodying our body. And then back up again to the pelvis and hip region. And gently into the belly, this area around the navel. And then from this area, think if you can kind of radiate out a quality of spaciousness that kind of envelops the whole body. You're breathing right in through the navel. And then breathing out into the space that surrounds us. The space we call life. So breathing in this space and sensing the space in our body that nourishes us. And then that sense of release back into the spacious awareness all around us. This quality of radiation. The space in our body that allows for the movement of breath. The space in our heart and mind that allows for the movement of thought. And even the space between thoughts, all part of this ebb and flow of life. So just for the last few moments, just resting into this spacious awareness, ever present. And then just to end, I'm going to read a poem by Kaveri Patel called Somatic. Somatic. Every moment is etched into our being. Rivers carving canyons, our bodies hardened by history. Bodies softened by the same rivers flowing towards salt-filled intentions to heal. Every moment is etched into our being. Rivers carving canyons, our bodies hardened by history. Bodies softened by the same rivers flowing towards salt-filled intentions to heal. We're going to take just maybe 2 or 3 minutes. You can stretch, maybe stand up for a moment. And if you would like to, I'm going to do that, is that little walking thing we did on week 2, where we just stand up and really come into the sensations of our feet as we maybe do a slight little circle of connecting to our body before we do a sitting meditation. So if anybody needs to go to the bathroom or do anything, we literally will have 3 minutes, but for those of you that can, just to keep the continuity of practice going, for those of you that are still in the space of the body scan, just very slowly move out of that, because it doesn't matter what we practice, it's all the same. We're just shifting into different expressions of the same thing. So just take your time and stretch and do what you need to do before we start the next practice. Okay, so again, we're going to do the affectionate breathing meditation now. This was a practice that you did second week, I think, second and third week maybe. So again, just find that posture for you that you'd like to hold for, 20, 25 minutes. And the important thing is always when we do practices of meditation that our body is content. If the body isn't settled and if the body doesn't feel at ease, then it's not going to stay still. So our body is often our guide. So just make sure you find a really comfortable posture. And again, as we start, again, just getting a sense of your whole body just sitting here. And remember, as we do meditation, especially these kinds of meditation, it's better to let go of any effort. Even if we can just settle into really what's here, just being present to the life that's here. So letting go of the effort, the striving, the wishing to accomplish anything, especially whatever a good meditation is. So that's the kind of spirit, and just follow the instructions as best you can. And really, when we find that our mind gets curious and interested in other things, I think it's often good just to notice, where did it go? And pay respects to that for a moment, and then just come back. So our thoughts are not our enemy. They're actually a kind of mindfulness bell to say, that's where my mind goes. Okay, so I can make a conscious choice now. Then I'm going to see if I can bring it back for another few seconds. So that's the spirit. So just sensing the whole body and just taking a few moments just to check your posture. When we're doing our sitting practice, it's it's good to have the spine relatively straight. Like that, the airways can then are unimpeded. The air can flow smoothly and gently through the body. And then it's often, I kind of like to have my arms just a little distance from the torso. Often if our arms are too close, we often find that the shoulders are held a little bit. As we release the arms a little bit from the torso, so it kind of creates a circle, we'll notice that our shoulders may also soften. And then making sure that, we sense that our buttocks, hips are comfortable in the chair. That sense of being contained in the chair. And then noticing, some of you may have your legs crossed, which is fine. Some of you may have your feet on the floor, which is also fine. So just sensing either your knees on the floor or your feet on the floor. And then gently coming up to your face. The face is often important in meditation. It's often the expression on our face tells us a lot about whether we're striving or intense, or whether we're more receptive and soft. So we have some agency around softening the face. So that sense of softening around the mouth. Maybe for those of you that find it useful, using that image of the half smile on the inside of the lips. And only use that if you find that a softening comes around. If you find that it freezes you, then give it up. So the inside of the lips, a kind of softening, can help release some of the muscles in the face. And then coming up to your eyes and maybe sensing the space between your eyes. That sense as if somebody were massaging you from the inside of the eyebrows outwards. So the eyes soften. They're resting well into their sockets. Often our eyes are vigilant, scanning the environment, usually for danger. Now we soften in. And then letting the awareness, the attention settle into the body, just as the body is resting on the chair or the cushion. And for those of you that would like to, just bringing your hands to your heart. Again, this is a reminder to ourselves that the quality of attention we're bringing to our experience is kindly. Our meditation is not another way to beat ourselves up. It's a way to meet whatever arises with gentleness, with tenderness. As our human conditioning flows through us, we hold it with love, care. Sensing that contact between our arms and our heart. Face softened, shoulders relaxed. And you can either let your hands rest on your heart, or you can let them rest in your lap or on your next to your belly button, whatever is comfortable for you. And then we turn towards our breath as we would turn towards somebody we really cared about. There's that quality of friendliness, which also embodies a curiosity and a non-judging awareness as life flows through us. And just letting the breath, just let it breathe itself. It doesn't need any intervention. It's been doing it all morning without any need to control it in any way. Just sensing the breath breathing itself. And maybe letting your attention rest at the place where you most obviously feel your breath. And for some of you, that can be the nostrils. For others, it's the rib cage. For others, it's the belly. And if you don't want to connect with the breath, just connecting with your body, maybe the movement of your body, whatever works for you. If it's the breath, just really letting the attention rest at the place where it's most obvious. And as you draw your attention to that place, if it wanders off, again, just noticing how gently, how kindly you can just bring it back. Almost as if you're training a toddler to hold a ball. Patiently, kindly placing the ball in the child's hands. Same way with our breath. Our attention on the breath kindly. And as you're breathing, as you're noticing the breath, maybe opening up to get a sense of the full length of the inhalation and exhalation. And maybe sensing it like a wave of breath. That sense of kind of rising and reaching a crescendo. And then how the breath turns and we get that very gentle, smooth exhalation. Just like the wave of a sea, the rhythm of the breath rising and falling. Just letting your whole body be held by this very gentle kind of rocking motion, rising and falling. Almost as you settle into the breath, maybe sensing how actually the breath is breathing us. And as the attention maybe wanders, just really noticing how the breath is always here to meet us. Maybe a kind of a loyal friend we can always come back to. And as we kind of rest into the breath, just noticing too how it massages the insides of our body. That rising and expanding and releasing and letting go. And just sensing our breath, kind of like the river of life. It's open to everything, taking it in and letting it go. That breath's capacity to breathe through it all. And then very gently, just expanding the attention now, just to sense your whole body sitting here. From the crown of your head to your shoulders, hands, hips, feet, knees. Just sensing the whole body, just this breathing, living, breathing organism. And sensing the breath kind of nourishing all of our pores. And as we exhale, again, just sensing the breath leaving through our pores and merging with the space around us. So that sense of this kind of living, breathing, spacious organism we call body, life. Maybe noticing any sounds in our environment. Maybe just sensing how they too, like our thoughts, like our breath, they arise and pass. And just for the last few moments, just notice how you're doing. Are you feeling kindly towards yourself? Are you feeling distracted? Are you feeling at ease? Or is there any kind of criticism around? Just notice. Getting familiar with the habits of this mind, this heart. Holding it in awareness tenderly. Ah, there's the judgment. Ah, there's the distraction. Ah, there's the ease. Just gently and kindly naming what's here. And to finish, I'm going to read another poem. So just staying open to the words. This poem is called Aimless Love by somebody called Billy Collins. This morning, as I walked along the lake shore, I fell in love with a wren. And later in the day with a mouse the cat had dropped under the dining room table. In the shadow of an autumn evening, I fell for a seamstress, still at her machine in the tailor's window. And later for a bowl of broth, steam rising like smoke from a naval battle. This is the best kind of love, I thought, without recompense, without gifts or unkind words, without suspicion or silence on the telephone. The love of the chestnut, the jazz cap, and one hand on the wheel. No lust, no slam of the door. The love of the miniature orange tree, the clean white shirt, the hot evening shower, the highway that cuts across Dublin. No waiting, no huffiness or rancor, just a twinge every now and then for the wren who had built her nest on a low branch overhanging the water, and for the dead mouse, still dressed in its light brown suit. But my heart is always propped up in a field on its tripod, ready for the next arrow. After I carried the mouse by the tail to a pile of leaves in the wood, I found myself standing at the bathroom sink, gazing down affectionately at the soap, so patient and soluble, so at home in its pale green soap dish. I could feel myself falling again as I felt its turning in my wet hands and caught the scent of lavender and stone. Again, just staying open to the sound of the bell. Okay, so just when you're ready, so what we're going to do now, I think I was torn between a walking meditation or a cup of tea, but I think we're just a little over halfway through. So what I would suggest is if you would like to have a snack or cup of tea or something, that we use this really as a mindfulness gesture. So, you know, this is a tea meditation or a piece of fruit meditation or whatever. And we'll do it for, let me think, we'll do it for 15 minutes. We'll have a break. But what I would suggest is that we get whatever we're having. And for those of you that want to, we'll come back and enjoy it as a group. So we're still part of a community. We're still kind of in this together. And we just bring our tea or our snack and just sit and enjoy it mindfully. And, you know, again, when we're doing that, just to be aware of if we have something warm, just the hands against the warm cup. And if we drink, just really feeling the warmth kind of permeating in a way our body. And if we're eating, again, just this ability to sense and to savor. So if we're having a piece of fruit, to really, you know, peel it or do whatever, and to begin to just really look at the colors, the shape, so it becomes the world of sensations open up with whatever we're engaging with. This is a powerful practice. I remember many years ago when Thich Nhat Hanh came to Dublin, and we went to Stormont, and Martina Anderson, I think it was, who was involved in the Brighton bombing. and was jailed for a number of years and came across that book, The Miracle of Mindfulness. And she said what really saved her at that point, I think she's an MLA, I think, whatever they're, yeah, some sort of minister. But she said that when she ate, there was one meditation with a satsuma. And she said when she ate that with mindfulness, something turned in her heart. And that was kind of what that practice made prison life much more enjoyable. So that's just, if we want to try eating mindfully and coming to the world of our senses, what that might offer us. So we're going to, for those of you that want to take a break and just want to be on your own, that's absolutely fine. So it's 11:40 now, so we'll come back here at 11:55, and we'll do the two practices that are left to do. Okay, so I'm going to come back here in a few minutes, so anybody that wants to join me, you're welcome. Okay, so maybe we'll come back and we're going to do the loving kindness practice, the loving kindness for ourselves. So it's good for those of you that are working with phrases, to maybe to remember the phrases that you have been using if you want to. You can also use other ones, but if you have a relationship to these phrases, it's very nice to kind of nurture that relationship. But you can also, if you want to, use another phrase which I think is really helpful, and some of you responded nicely to that last session of may I know my own goodness. It can be a lovely phrase to use, or may I experience ease. So you can use the traditional ones. May I be happy, may I be free from suffering, may I know ease, may I be healthy. So just maybe if you can just for a moment just to maybe bring to mind the phrases you'd like to use. And then what we'll do is just take a moment just to find your posture again. Again, as always, just to be as comfortable as you can. Always making space for the body to find ease and comfort in the space. And just to remember some of the points of the posture, which is, having that sense of your spine being relatively straight without being rigid. Your shoulders soft. Often we brace against life with our shoulders, so seeing if you can have the shoulders, sort of letting the shoulders kind of go back and downwards. And that sense of really kind of taking your seat, that sense of your own embodied presence. This capacity we all have to really be conscious of our body, knowing that everything we do it through our body. So the body is the impression of everything else. And then sensing our feet on the floor. And if we're sitting cross-legged, just sensing your knees resting. So that sense now of just the whole body awareness. Noticing how your hands are resting. Also, just taking a moment just to sense your mood. We're going to go through different mood spaces, moodscapes during this day. It's very natural and normal. Sometimes we'll be up, sometimes we'll be bright, sometimes we'll be down, sometimes we'll be dull. That's the way of life. Sometimes our mind will be very busy, sometimes it will be stuck in thoughts, sometimes it will be calm and more fluid. That's the life of the heart and mind. So whatever is here, I think if you can bring a kindness to it, bring a tenderness, knowing that this is part of the human condition. Not something to be gotten rid of, something to be embraced tenderly. this capacity to give space to whatever arises in our hearts and mind, like a clear sky that doesn't resist whatever is there. And then knowing what's there, and we see if we can gently turn towards our breath. And if we want to, I kind of like starting my meditations with my hands on my heart. If that appeals to you, you can do that, or you can have your hands in your lap, whatever works for you to give you that sense of a connection to your own sense of your own experience, your own body. So again, tuning into that kind of rhythm of your breath, however it is. And if you want to, sometimes it's helpful at the beginning of practice to just for a few breaths to lengthen the exhalation. So just that sense of breathing out, and then letting the inhalation just naturally compensate for the air that's been released. And then letting the breath find its own natural rhythm and trusting that the breath can do that itself. So letting our breath lead. And just really sensing into that gentle rhythm of our breath, that sense of surrendering to the breath. Resting into it as if you were resting into a hammock. And it's just gently swaying you. With that ability to establish ourselves in our body and in our breath. Being at the center of our own experience. And as always, just kind of noticing when the attention gets entangled or caught up or gets curious about other things. And just noticing that. And when you feel ready, just kind of inviting the attention back. And then we can gently bring to mind whatever phrases work for us. And just to be aware that when we offer ourselves these phrases, we're not pumping them into our heart. There's a very gentle rhythm that go with the phrases. So we say them kind of slowly and sparingly, drop them in, and trusting our own psyche to do what they do with them. And remember that the phrases concern themselves not with trying to elicit particular feeling. It's really about the cultivation of intention. So intention is at the core. And it might be helpful to remember that little Jewish rabbi story I shared, that we place the words on our heart. And when the heart is ready, it itself will open and receive the words. We're just planting little seeds of intentionality. And seeing if you can then bring up your own phrases, and one or two maximum, and then dropping them into your own internal space. Just really sensing how they land with you today. And we spent a few moments now, a few minutes in silence as you gently recite or repeat or offer these phrases to your own heart. It's really sensing how the words anchor you in this moment. And the same is true when the attention wanders off, just noticing how gently can you bring it back to rest with one or two of the phrases. It's really sensing there's no demand in these phrases, they're just simple invitations to your own heart. If you find that your attention is getting caught up in different events or people, if you like, you can also offer them the phrases or simply come back to yourself. If you find there's any resistance or hardening of the heart in response to the phrases, you can simply come back to the breath. Never push your own heart and mind. And then very gently coming back to the breath and the body, just sitting here. And then to end this practice, this meditation, I'm just going to read a short poem. It's called Coming Home. Again, it's by Kaveri Patel. I can't do this anymore. Dance, this dance where my heart is armored. An oyster shell clammed shut against the soft meat of what really matters. I want to know how it is for you, how the pearl inside is forming from the irritations of life, layer upon layer of courage surrounding the suffering with warm presence. Let there be time and space to show your pearl, having sat with my own. I'm going to read it again. Coming home. I can't do this anymore. Dance, this dance where my heart is armored. An oyster shell clammed shut against the soft meat of what really matters. I want to know how it is for you, how the pearl inside is forming from the irritations of life, layer upon layer of courage surrounding the suffering with warm presence. Let there be time and space to show you your pearl, having sat with my own, cupping my heart in my hands, so I may know yours, cupping my heart in my hands, so I may know yours. I'm just taking a moment just to sense your breath. Just maybe move the body a little bit. Excuse me, move the body a little bit. We're going to do just maybe a 10-minute walking meditation. And we're going to do that in our room if we have space. And what we're going to do is to take maybe 2 meters or 3 meters space, and we're just going to very gently walk that space. I'm just going to do it actually because it's easier to model. So as maybe if maybe we can stand up slowly and gently, no hurry. And maybe just for a moment, just standing with your feet, just hips width distance apart. And as you're standing, maybe just kind of gently just close your eyes. If you want to keep on sitting, you're welcome to do that too. It doesn't matter what exercise you do, as long as you're present to it. So as you're standing, just really sensing maybe your body moving. So we can just move from the sort of gentle sway of the body. So as you do that, you kind of notice that all the weight, say, maybe goes on the right leg, and the left leg then is kind of light. And then you move over to the left leg, and the right leg is light. Almost as if your leg was filled with water. And then very gently as you move, the water moves in to the right leg. So the right leg gets heavy. So that kind of gentle. So just really sensing, because this is basically what happens when we walk. We shift the weight. The one leg gets heavy and one leg becomes lighter. And when the lighter leg then allows us to kind of move through the space. So when we do that, what I'd like us to do is, as we're taking a step, just really sensing the leg rising, we can even say that, and then ankle touching, resting, and then the next leg will start moving. So really sensing how the leg rests on the floor and then how it moves through the space, and then the weight comes forward. So it's kind of like a Tai Chi movement. So we become aware of the full scope of the step. And because we're doing the compassion practice today, so anybody that comes into our awareness as we're doing that, so rather than seeing things happening or coming into the mind as distractions, we'll use this opportunity to send loving kindness to whoever that is or whatever situation that is. And then when they recede, then we come back to the sensations of the movement. So it's a kind of compassionate walking meditation where we're in the body, feeling the body. Somebody comes into our awareness, almost like as if somebody was coming past us in the street. May you know your own goodness, may you be at ease, whatever we in our mind say to that person, even if it's somebody that is difficult. And then we come back to our step. So let's do that. We do that for a few minutes, about 7 or 8 minutes. When you come to the end of your marked space, then you stop and then you very gently turn around. So then we'll slowly begin to stop. Maybe just standing for a moment with your eyes closed. And just tuning into your body. Again, just sensing if any tension or tightness or over focus has happened. And then just seeing if you can just soften into the face, between the eyes, the jaw, relaxing the shoulders, softening into them. Maybe any tightness in the belly or the bum. Softening the knees. Often we brace our knees. See if you can just almost like bounce just very slightly on the knees. Really that sense of acquainting our body with what an easeful posture feels like. And then we'll open our eyes, and again just noticing the quality of light. And then we take our seat for the last meditation of the morning. Just nice and gently and easy, no rush, back to our seats. Okay, so just very gently sensing into our body. So what we're noticing now, that the preparation for meditation is always the same. You know, coming back, sensing our body. And when we do this again and again, what we notice is we become familiar with how we hold tension. We begin to be familiar with the attitude that we might bring to meditation as a self-improvement project or some kind of tension, and we just let go of all that. The more we can have an attitude of effortlessness, just trusting our own system, getting out of our own way, and knowing that there's nothing to be accomplished. We're just simply letting these instructions work on us in the way they can. And where they're present, to be attentive. And we can then reorientate if we need to. But in the practice of meditation, less is more. Just almost that sense of just stepping aside and letting the breath breathe. And taking a little scan through the body, so making sure the eyes are at ease. Almost as if you could breathe in through that area between the eyebrows, softening it, soothing it. And then taking note of your shoulders, again softening into the shoulders. The arms a little distance from your torso. And the feet on the floor. Sensing your own presence in your body, present to life, moment by moment. And maybe gently sensing the movement of just noticing how the body is moving with your breath. Just this sense of how the body accommodates the breath, this unity of breath and body, of expanding and opening up, and of releasing and letting go. So letting life flow through us with the inhalation, noticing how it nourishes our body. And then releasing with the exhalation back into this spacious, open awareness. And this practice is the compassion practice for myself and for others. And then we just bring our attention, bring the inhalation into a kind of more refined focus. So just noticing the inhalation, maybe how the inhalation offers our body nourishment, how it oxygenates our body, how it helps us to receive life, so that open spaciousness that the inhalation provides. It's really sensing how we're nourished by the in-breath. How it can physically nourish us and how it can calm the spirits. And letting the exhalation happen very naturally. So as you sense the ease of the inhalation, just noticing if there's any qualities that you could use right now. Kindness or compassion, or ease or courage. Or energy. And if there is any quality that you would like to embrace and embody, just allowing that to permeate your body with the inhalation. So letting yourself be nourished by the fulsomeness of the inhalation. And then bringing to mind somebody that, who elicits a smile, somebody you love, somebody you care about. It can be a person, it can be an animal, it can even be a tree or something in nature. And as you breathe out, just letting the breath carry whatever it is this being may need. Maybe somebody that you know, or some being that you know that may need some of your compassion or tenderness right now. The exhalation becomes the medium by which you offer that tenderness, kindness, compassion with the exhalation. And then bringing both the inhalation and exhalation into your awareness in equal measure. And then as you breathe in, just breathing in whatever it is you may need right now. Let it nourish you. And as you breathe out, just offering to this dear being. So just use whatever emphasis you want. You may want to give more to yourself. You may have enough for yourself for now. You may want to give more to the other. So just for the next 5 minutes or so, we're just going to play with this practice of breathing for ourselves and breathing for the other. So in for me and out for you. One for me and one for you. letting go of any effort, just sending these wishes in whatever way we want to. And then very gently letting go of the practice and just coming back to the simplicity of the breath. And just that sense of just sitting here, just being, nothing special, nothing to do. And just reconnecting with how it is to just be present right now. And I'm just going to end with another poem. This one is again by Kaveri Patel, and it's called The Deity You Seek. Please enter the temple quietly. There is no room for the profanity of self-degradation here. Make only the purest of offerings, guilt-free money and nutritious food. Shake out all your restlessness in the great dance of recognition. The deity you seek tiptoes past your reverie, slips tenderly out of the temple back door to make space for the one and only you. So please enter the temple quietly. There is no room for the profanity of self-degradation here. Make only the purest of offerings, guilt-free money and nutritious foods. Shake out all your restlessness in the great dance of recognition. The deity you seek tiptoes past your reverie, slips tenderly out of the temple back door to make space for the one and only you. So just taking a moment as we're coming to the end of our morning. And I'd like you to, if it feels right for you, just to acknowledge, to recognize, or to recognize and acknowledge and to really appreciate, the effort that you've put into this morning. This yearning, I think, that we all have to really connect more deeply with ourselves and with our innate compassion. And just for each one of us to acknowledge that spirit in ourselves and the efforts we've all made this morning to cultivate that. Just this spirit of generosity towards ourselves, of appreciation, of gratitude for what it is within us that draws us to these practices. And in a moment, I'm going to sound the bell, and I'm just remembering the phrases of the words of Thich Nhat Hanh as we listen to the sound of this bell. It brings me home to my true self, which is in the here and the now. Good. So we're coming to the end of the day, and I'm just going to leave the space open for a few minutes for anybody that would like to share anything that arose for you today that you feel comfortable to share, surprises, challenges. And I also know that it's not always easy to move out from silence. So, it's really just up to you if there's anything you'd like to share. So we leave the space open for a little while to see if anything emerges. Thanks, Laura. That was a beautiful practice. Aileen O'Sullivan raised hands. Aileen, do you want to unmute yourself, or Team?
Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
I can, Aileen. Thank you.
Hi. Thank you, Mary. Yeah, I'd echo that message. Can you hear me? It was really beautiful. Thank you.
Good.
I think I just wanted to ask a question. I definitely got a sense of spaciousness as the morning went on, which was really wonderful. Just get that